Welcome back to Everybody Loves Raymond. My name's Adam Rudy. I'm joined by Michael Dormer.
Hello.
Alex Shear.
How you doing out there?
And our very second guest, talented improviser and comedian, Valerie Blain has entered the Barone zone, #Barone zone, and we could not be more thrilled. Hi, Val. How are you?
Thanks for having me. This is literally so funny because I know all of you in real life, but you sound like Delilah to me right now.
Hey there.
You're like,
That's what we're going for. Approachable but Delilah at the same time.
yeah. It's giving, I should really tell you about my latest relationship problems.
Well,
And
this episode of Everybody
hear it.
Loves Raymond is all about relationship problems. So if you see any parallels
Who would've
between
guessed?
your latest relationship problems and Marie and Frank's, maybe you discovered salsa recently, and maybe
What a
that ties
strange
in
thing.
nicely. I know.
Yeah.
It's
It
beautiful.
was the 90s. So, Val, welcome. This is, I'm sure you're aware, the only active, the only good, and the only, Everybody Loves Raymond podcast.
The only podcast with a certain je ne sais quoi.
Yes. The only podcast that simulcasts in French about Everybody Loves Raymond. And so today we're here to talk about Season 1, Episode 7 of Everybody Loves Raymond. It's called Your Place or Mine. But before we do that, we have one question to ask our guest.
Just
Val,
one.
Just one question for you, and then others may arise. But
Yeah,
this
we'll
is
have
the only
follow-ups.
one we have written down.
Pressing.
Val, how'd you meet Ray?
How did I meet Ray?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Today. I never knew Ray before today.
You never encountered Ray Romano before today?
Well, yes. Okay. Get this. I'm a young person.
No.
Shocker.
No
I know,
way.
it's crazy.
Oh, we gotta get her off. This
You
is,
look terrible.
I agree. I don't use sunscreen. That's the problem. I really need to get my skin routine up. But anyways,
Just
what I was
kidding.
going to say is Ray Romano is definitely what's the line? Something airplane food.
Oh, you mean like what's the deal? Like when one
What's
of those
the deal with
yeah.
airplane food? Is that Ray Romano?
No, I think
that's Seinfeld.
Great.
Yeah,
So
Seinfeld.
I don't know. I never knew Ray. You could
Ray
show me a
Romano.
picture of Seinfeld and Ray Romano, and I would say they're both the same guy.
You've never seen Ray in like a movie or anything like that?
Name some? I don't think so.
I think
I
he was
knew
in The
him.
Big Sick. He was
Ice
in,
Age, you might
Ice
know
Age.
him
Is in
from.
Big
Maybe-
Sick. Okay.
Ice Age 2.
Ice
Maybe
Age,
Ice Age, the
Continental
Final
Drift.
Meltdown?
Yeah,
Right,
Final
exactly.
Meltdown.
Meltdown. Yeah, he's the mammoth. What else is
Nicki
he even
Minaj
in?
played like a cousin or something. That's what I remember.
Yeah, he played
but if
Nicki
we're talking
Minaj's
about-
cousin in that movie Cousins, where they were two unlikely cousins.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on, because Val raises a good point. Nicki Minaj was a voice in Ice Age. Has Ray Romano met Nicki Minaj?
Has to
Probably.
have been at the premiere.
Yeah,
At the very
I don't
least
think
the
they
premiere.
recorded together in the booth. I
I
think
think
that
he had
would
I
that
would pay
weird
for that
smile that
footage.
he always has. You know, the weird
Yeah.
smile where he's like uncomfortable and you can tell that he's uncomfortable with the situation. Too many lights. Too many lights is what his eyes are saying. That's probably what he looked like in those photos for the premiere.
So
I love
would,
it,
That's
though.
is
Yeah.
it safe to say your only familiarity with Ray is the Getty Images results from the red carpet premiere of Ice Age?
Okay, so if we're talking about the very first time I ever heard Ray Romano's voice, it's Ice Age. As I said, I'm a young person. I was probably a baby in the theater. I don't know. Ray Romano.
Yeah,
And then Getty's Images, yes.
Getty's
So-
Images.
Mhm.
His very own.
Getty's? images. Yes, apostrophe S.
When we told you, because you've mentioned that we know each other IRL, when we told you we would love to have you as a guest on this Everybody Loves Raymond podcast, what was your reaction? Was it just, what the fuck is Everybody Loves Raymond, or what?
So we're going to address two things right now. We know each other in real life. This is true. But sometimes when you text for a very long period of time, you kind of like lose an image of the person's face while you're texting them. Yeah. They just become the name. Right. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I got to do this. But I forgot that I was in a group chat with a bunch of straight white men. So I was not as put off as I probably should have been. So I came in very confident. I thought I could do the job. I've never seen an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, and I thought I could do it. So I guess I was excited.
Well, you don't have to apologize for wanting to explore something new or try something new. If nothing else, that's what this show is about. It's about taking risks and taking chances.
Really?
Is that what the show is about?
Are we watching the same show?
Yeah.
This show is about change and growth and personal development.
Respecting one another,
kindness, and healthy relationships.
And salsa.
Lots of salsa.
So yes.
You've never seen an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, never seen a commercial for Everybody Loves Raymond, nothing like that until...
I've probably seen a commercial of it, or somebody put it as a clip on some sort of social media. I've seen Everybody Loves Raymond, but I've never sat down and watched the full 22 to 26 minute episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay.
With or without commercial.
Gotcha.
I think that should be our hashtag for this episode is going the full 22. And that's like a sort of metric for whether or not you can survive an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Hey, if we're doing this on a scale where how far into the 22 do you think you made it? I made it probably to, and I'm going to be a harsh critic here, sorry, maybe 14, 11, somewhere around there.
I sometimes find myself at about that point checking to see how much of the episode is left. Because
Val, you don't have to apologize because, as you'll soon find out, we are usually very critical of our friend Raymond.
Okay, perfect.
We love him, but as in every healthy relationship, love is not absolute. It is, you love people for their faults as well as for their, I don't know, the only word that's coming to mind is beauties. The beauties of Raymond.
Ray Romano is a looker. We all know that.
Yeah, but I'm also talking about internal beauty. Val,
not a lot of that.
This
is an unscheduled follow-up question.
I'm off guard.
Not having watched Raymond, presumably you never saw it in syndication on your TBS or TV land. Did you watch many sitcoms in syndication growing up the way that I did? That Michael did, that Alex did, presumably before he took the binge of Raymond as a young man?
So, I think I know your guys' likes enough, the things that you like enough, to gauge where in the channel surfing range were you when we were growing up at the same time. I don't think I was in that range. I don't think I was watching TV Land until I was 14. I don't think I ever made it past the kids' channels until 12 or something like that. So I was watching kids shows for a very long time. So I was in the Nickelodeon. I was watching Cartoon Network and Disney and stuff like that. This is when Disney was oh, let's do X-Tunes or whatever it is, the other channels.
Yeah.
That. Right. I was there. And PBS. So my sitcoms are those sitcoms, but also I'm also a weird kid, so I decided, hey, you know what's good though? Black and white television. So I watched...
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. I went far. I was left, and then I went all the way right. There was no middle. I was not watching anything filmed in the 90s except for, oh, you know what? I lied. The Nanny. I love The Nanny.
Okay.
Wow.
Nanny.
Would it
Nanny.
surprise you to know that coming up in several years, we will be watching the crossover episode between The Nanny and Everybody Loves Raymond? So you were
Ooh.
so close to Raymond and you didn't even know it. It's like you walked past him in the hallway and you brushed elbows and you didn't even know that you were brushing elbows with Raymond Barone.
Is this true? Is this factual, or are
Yeah.
you lying to me? Because I believe you, and you could be lying to me.
No, it's like season 5 of The Nanny.
Val, you
It's
got to
true.
come back for that episode.
Is the
I
Nanny
don't know
like?
if I believe you, but I
It's
will.
Is it like the Nanny guest stars on Raymond, or does Ray guest star on the Nanny?
Ray. I don't want to spoil it, but I did see the synopsis. Let's just say Ray makes an appearance on The Nanny. And I won't tell you in what context.
Does he pull
They
a
are
Kareem?
both set in New York.
Does he pull a Kareem? What do you mean?
Meaning like how in last episode we had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar come in for the cold open and then presumably die alongside Leo because we never see him again.
I
As a
don't-
person who has never seen an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. What the?
Well, we've got
what the heck was
the
that?
body
What was
count of
that?
this show so far is 2. What you need to know going in is 2 people have died.
2 people are dead.
Okay,
Well, no,
well, we are
3.
only
Don't
in
forget about
season
Gus.
1.
We're,
Yeah,
in
I know.
season, we're not
1.
even halfway through season 1, and we
So-
can infer one man died, and we know another man died.
And
And it's
big
Kareem
question mark next to
Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem. Yeah, because I would be shocked if Kareem made another appearance on Raymond, but actually that'd be kind of cool if he was a recurring guest.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
we talked about that.
What if he goes to like LA and it's just like a quick thing, but like Kareem's like signing autographs, just like, hey, there's that guy that brought me to see his wife, and then yeah, that's it.
And
I would
then
kinda
Ray
like
leaves Deborah for Kareem. They start a
Ooh.
new show together.
that would be a very compelling storyline.
Kareem loves Raymond.
Kareem.
Oh.
Anyway,
Sorry about all this.
so Val, what were you watching in black and white? Were you watching The Honeymooners, or were you watching like
Lucy.
Lucy,
I was
or
definitely
like
watching I Love
detective
Lucy.
stuff?
No, I was definitely watching I Love Lucy, and also my mom is super into black and white movies, so TCM was
Yeah.
on Turner Classic Movies. If you don't know, if you're not a fan, be a fan. And I just don't know what I was watching. I was
Well-
just watching it.
It's hard to know, isn't it, when you're watching TCM or any sort of place where black and white movies are shown. It's pretty much just a procession of men coming onto the screen in fedoras and leaving the screen.
Yelling, smoking a cigar, and holding a woman. This is the cigar. I'm holding a cigar, a fake cigar pen in my hand.
Sure.
Spreading them out, and I'm going to shake a woman and say
Yes.
something loud. That's what I was watching.
Truly
It shaped who I am today.
That explains.
And would you say
Many
that that
things.
perspective informed how you viewed our episode today? Did you keep thinking, when are these guys going to shake a woman?
Yes, no. I was thinking, to me, everything, when it's black and white, you're shaking women. When it's in color, shaking women is off the table,
Yes, I
And this is in
completely
color.
understand.
So I was
Um,
like, you shouldn't be shaking women.
Yeah, put that woman down. This is in
Right.
color.
Hmm
Right.
Which really affected how I watched the episode, because there seemed to be some mental shaking of women.
Oh my god, yeah. Welcome to Everybody
more than
Loves
that. Yeah, no. The women are shooketh here.
This is probably one of our more just dysfunctional family episodes, I would say. Does that resonate with anybody?
I guess so. Yeah, there's not really a deeper arc beyond, wow, how fucked Frank and Marie are this episode.
There's no outside influence coming into the family. This is literally just the
No.
family doing what the family do.
There's no death of Gus. There's no hot waitress. There's no nothing else. It's
It was a
just an
central
entire-
cast day.
Yeah.
And
It was
crazy.
pretty close to being a bottle episode, too. We spent a lot of time in Ray and Deborah's living room, but as the episode progressed, we got to use those set
And
counts.
I'm not gonna lie, I was getting tired of the living room after 10 minutes.
I will
That's
say
fair.
this is probably one of our slower episodes, I feel like, for me.
Oh yeah.
I was watching it, and I was like zoning out, and then I came back and I was like, no, I know exactly what happened. I don't need to go back.
Right, you sort of get the gist. On that note, it's time for us to take a break, and then when we come back, we will be breaking down the bits and pieces of Season 1, Episode 7 of Everybody Loves Raymond, Your Place or Mine, right after this.
Woo!
If you're like me, curating a totally customized box of more than $40 worth of themed toys and treats for your dog to deliver to your own door each month is really taking a lot of your time and cutting into your personal and professional lives and taking a real emotional and spiritual toll on you. Luckily, now you can give your dog exactly what they want with BarkBox. BarkBox is a totally customized box of more than $40 worth of themed toys and treats delivered to your door each month. You don't have to deliver it yourself to your own door. You don't have to put on your UPS costume and, get into your Honda Civic that you've painted brown and drive around the block and then put your hazards on, of course, and pull up to the sidewalk in front of your house, get out and deliver a box that you've made yourself to your own front door, leave, make a couple more deliveries, because why not, and then come home, open it, and give it to your dog. You don't have to do that. Not anymore. Not with BarkBox. BarkBox does all that hard work for you. You can get your life back. You can finally reconnect with your stepson. You can, finally get your Etsy business off the ground. You'll have so much more time, and your dog will be one of the over 2 million dogs who's enjoyed BarkBox's unique, curated collections of innovative toys, all-natural treats, and chews inspired by Stranger Things, Star Wars, Spider-Man, and so much more. All your favorite brands and intellectual properties are working with BarkBox to create awesome toys and treats for your dog. So, what's stopping you? Go support this show by visiting BarkBox through postfund.info/ads. And when you get there, let them know the Raymond sent you.
Welcome back, everybody, and let us begin by diving into the episode. Hello?
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm calling in on the car phone.
You got a car phone?
Yeah, I just got it. So I got off a call with Linda, and I realized we're doing the podcast. I went to go get a taquito from 7-Eleven, and there was a woman there with a donkey. We don't have to get into that, but I'm ready to talk about the episode.
About the woman with the donkey. I'm not going to lie to you.
We'll get it. We don't have time to talk about it. I'm running late. I'm almost home, but God, these car phones are they're great. I love the car phone.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Hold on, I'm getting it back.
Oh shit. All right.
Oh God.
And that's hey Val, you there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've just been promoted to third podcast host of Everybody Loves Raymond.
I was wondering when it would become official, but I'm glad that it happened. So thank you.
Oh God. Hey guys. Don't worry, it just went in the ditch. I'm fine. I gotta get a new car phone though.
Listener, can you tell we all used to do improv together?
Improv?
What great visual bits we have going on here.
That was written. I wrote that beforehand.
Very nice.
But our cold open today is just a discussion of Ray and Deborah about how fast technology is moving these days with the invention of the car phone. Now, I don't really remember the car phone. Do you guys know if it was like it's a precursor to the cell phone, right?
Honestly, all I know about car phones comes from 90s sitcom reruns. I know they had them on Fresh Prince. They had car phones. I know that Ray and Deborah are discussing car phones in this episode. As far as I know, it is a telephone that is situated within a car.
Holy shit.
And I feel like it was only popular for a very brief period of time. And in my mind, I think Miami Vice. So I'm thinking like you're driving fast, you're a rich white guy in a flowy shirt in a convertible, talking to, I don't know, someone important.
Now, was it like what I kind of am interested in is was it like a Bluetooth speaker kind of thing?
No,
Or did
it was
literally
a
have
box.
a handset. Yeah.
Oh, so kind of like a police radio kind of thing?
No, it was it was shaped like a telephone, and I think
Think
it
of like
even
a
had the
flat
curly
wall phone.
cable. Yeah.
Wow.
It
That's
was
something,
very
isn't
much
it?
a telephone
conversation.
inside of a car.
Listen, I know this is not entertaining to listen to, but I am fascinated that this was a piece of
Hey,
technology.
wait, that wasn't even the first one because I remember that I was watching a black and white movie with police officers in it, and they had to make a call back to the station, but all the power lines were down or something like that. I don't remember really. And there was an actual like rotary phone inside of his car, and I was like, where is it hooked up to?
Well, actually, if you see, I don't know if you've ever seen like in old war pictures or something, they used to have a guy who would carry around like a big box on his back that was like a mobile phone, and it looked like a, rotary phone. It looked like your classic telephone handset. So
The history of portable phones is fascinating and endless. We
it's
could
almost
go all
as
night.
if as soon as the phone was invented, somebody was
we gotta
trying
move
to
it.
figure
We
out a way
gotta
to move it.
We gotta get it going. Come on.
Could you imagine
This is
that's-
great and all, but I gotta go.
You know what's faster than running to the person to tell them if the phone moved it to that person? If I could move that phone and get closer to that person as I'm saying what I need to say.
Could you imagine that army guy today? He's just like carrying around like an iPhone on the battlefield.
Yeah. Who needs to talk to Sarge?
Sarge is on FaceTime.
He's playing Pokemon Go on his downtime.
So yes, our cold open is Ray and Deborah in the living room. Deborah suggests that they can afford a car phone, and Ray immediately shoots down the idea. He's not interested in the car phone. He finds it unnecessary, and in hindsight, I think we can all agree Ray made the right call here, no pun intended, and saved his family some money, because
Yes,
it was... This is 1996. I mean, it was, if not already out of date, approaching fast. Cell phones were coming fast.
That is true, but it's also kind of like, it's very interesting to see this constant attachment to technology dialogue happening even before the dawn of the internet kind of thing. I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Oh, yeah,
This
well,
has always been, yeah.
Let's not gloss over the fact that Ray invented Bluetooth. I mean, that
I was going to say.
right there.
He did.
He even taps his ear.
AirPods. And
Yeah.
Steve Jobs heard this in his garage while he was making the computer and said, hey, everybody loves Raymond. I love that idea.
So you're saying Raymond Barone was sort of a dark prophet of AirPods.
We all know that scene in the Steve Jobs movie where Steve Jobs is sitting around being like, oh crap, what am I going to do with my life? And then that once this scene from Everybody Loves Raymond comes through and he's like, hey, and the movie goes from there.
Yes. So yeah, Ray invents... let's not gloss over, by the way, that Ray introduced Deborah to the Wonder Bra. Mike, you want to tell us what that is?
Sports guy.
Believe it or not, I do not have much expertise in this area.
So I Googled it because I was like, I feel like this has some misogynist, sexist undertones and I don't like it.
Welcome to
So I
Everybody
went
Loves
to
Raymond.
Yep.
I
Get
cannot
comfortable.
confirm. I cannot confirm, and here's why. Because some women like to wear bras. They find them more comfortable than to be braless. I happen to be one of the people who despises actual bras. I prefer to wear a sports bra or none at all. Hashtag my body, my choice. And so his wife responded, I don't remember her name, Deborah,
famously.
Deborah responded positively towards the mention of the bra because she called Raymond like innovative or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact word she used.
And for the uninitiated, this is a brassiere, which is used to support the and pardon my language, breasts of the woman. I'm just looking at Val. In a wondrous way.
Have we really gotten already in episode 7 to the point where we're going to mansplain bras to our female guest?
I'm just sitting here wondering, what did I get myself into?
Wait, it's not mansplaining because put a question mark at the end of that. And now it's a legitimate question from a feminist man trying to do better.
Well, regardless. I think Deborah is a bra wearer and found that comment to be more funny than a jab at her, which I immediately found a jab.
It's interesting. Times have changed. But, so Ray goes off on this little bit about the car phone, and he mentions Linda, who we've met in a previous episode, and then goes on to invent Bluetooth, a little chip implanted in the head, he says.
He called the New World Order, too. I'm proud of him.
You think Ray is a kind of like a conspiracy guy?
See, here's the thing. I think he's the kind of person that would believe it, or at least for a second, and then think about what he would have to do and go like, no. I think that he would, he's just too lazy to, storm the Capitol or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I don't think he would go as far as storming the Capitol, but I do believe that he has enough energy in his fingers. In the year 2022, Everybody Loves Raymond
yes,
would pick up his iPhone and repost conservative opinions.
I agree.
That reflect
I do agree with that.
These conspiracies.
Val, would you believe that this is not the first time we've talked about a character from the show Everybody Loves Raymond potentially storming the Capitol?
Yeah.
No, actually I don't. Because it's very likely that I think his dad definitely would have been there.
Oh.
You didn't see Robert draw his gun in the first episode, ready to pop someone. We've mentioned both January 6th and Truth Social already.
7 episodes in, baby.
Hey.
We're courting controversy. But yeah. So anyway,
we want clicks.
The punchline of the cold open is that Ray receives a fax from his ass. So then we go to our conveyor belt opening. It's back, by the way. Val, what you don't know is that previously a hastily shot opening sort of title sequence has played in the previous 5 out of the previous 6 episodes, where Ray is assembling a children's play set, like a Fisher-Price type of thing, and somehow, through sheer ineptitude, he builds himself inside of it and is trapped inside and must call for Deborah to come rescue him.
But this time we have the family going by on a conveyor belt, which honestly, it's implied that Ray built it himself, so I don't know how he...
Well, he implies that not only is the conveyor belt there, not only is he delivering this monologue, but his family has consented, if not suggested, that they go by on a conveyor belt behind.
And have active activities that they're doing on them. If I'm not wrong, his mom is like cooking hot food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if like he does that like when the mailman comes by.
The mailman
every day.
did it.
Yeah. Well, that's the second time we've seen this opening, and it's important to keep track of because this show has like 7 different title sequences that it uses throughout its 9 years.
Importantly, none of them matter. Like, let's be clear. We're tracking them for the point of tracking them. It's not like this opening gives us some new insight into the character of Ray Barone.
No, it certainly doesn't.
Do you guys agree?
Are you going to stick with the music, the one that we heard today for the entire podcast? Or will you
interesting.
No, we should have 7 different ones.
We should have 7 different ones, and we'll throw maybe in a couple of weeks we'll throw in a randomly a different theme song, and then go back to this one.
Here's what I think you guys should do. George Lopez, for sure.
What was the Nanny has a theme song too, but it's very specific.
The Nanny has a highly complex theme song.
Hi, I'm the Nanny, and I live here in Long Island.
It's not really about the kids.
I've never seen the Nanny.
That show is, to be fair to the Nanny, that show is more about the kids than Everybody Loves Raymond is about the kids.
About the kids.
Also a very horny show.
It is a very horny show to be about all
I
about
haven't
the
seen
kids.
an entire episode of The Nanny, I'll be honest with you. But there is a bonus episode.
Do you want to trade spots? I'll come on this podcast. It'll be The Nanny podcast. And we'll watch whatever episode
you know what?
I'm on.
Genuinely, I'd be down for that. If you started a Nanny podcast, I would gladly be a guest. But
The Nanny podcast would just be me. Because I don't
Everybody
think anybody
loves
would sit there with me.
The Nanny.
we'll find someone
What
for
we
you.
call
we'll
that?
We'll find a Nanny podcast.
Nannying the Nanny.
Nannying the Nanny. Everybody nannies
The Nanny.
the Nanny.
Then everybody loves the Nanny of
following
Queens.
our formula.
Nanny.
Hey,
Anyway. So that's the conveyor belt. Yes, we'll have different theme songs for every season of this show. So then we cut back to the living room. That's our first proper scene this episode. Deborah has put the kids to... Or actually, Ray has put the kids to sleep. Yes. Good job, Ray. Although in the process of doing so, he promised Allie that he would buy them a pony, which I thought was a nice, solid joke construction.
Solid bit. I see that Val disapproves of the method, but,
Not a fan.
I disapprove of it for logistic reasons, not as a joke. As a joke, it had a great setup. Did I particularly enjoy that joke, and would I tell that joke? No. Now, what I take issue with is that Ray seems to not be able to put his children to bed without having to promise them something in the future. You're not doing a great job at putting your kids to bed.
A running thing with Ray is
you mean to tell me that Ray Barone is not Father of the Year? Is that what you're trying to convince me of?
I wouldn't award him Father of the Year.
All right, that's a cool take. Okay.
There's some people on the internet who are going to be very mad at you.
Damn right.
Meanwhile, Deborah is downstairs cleaning up, and she points out the stain on the carpet. And that's important because Marie then enters, and she's clearly fed up. Marie, by the way, Val, is Ray's mom, Deborah's mother-in-law.
She lives across the street.
And she lives across the street. And she is clearly upset and fed up with Frank, but she takes time out of her grievance to point out the stain to Deborah, which is very in character for Marie. I thought that was funny.
She never misses a moment
and,
to rag on Deborah,
she's,
which I always,
She comes over and she tells them basically exactly, or kind of what happens, and then I think Frank barges in right after, saying the Frank thing, make me food, and then the episode just sets up from there.
Right.
And mind you, this is about 20 minutes into the episode.
No,
it feels like 20 minutes into the episode. I felt like I was sitting there listening to them argue for a long time.
That's a lot of this show is people arguing with each other. Sometimes it's funny. But the crux of the problem here is that Frank, for Frank, the problem is that Marie made him tuna salad without celery.
Yes.
sans celery, and this is, he calls it tuna slop. And this is the last straw for Marie as far as Frank's demanding
He does say
goes.
slop to you twice.
And I will say, if my memory serves me right, one of those times the audience loves it. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah, when Marie stands up to Frank.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Oh, when Marie says...
Make your own damn sandwich.
Oh, is it... Yeah, make your own damn sandwich or chop the celery yourself. The audience is like, ooh, yeah, you go, girl. That's about as feminist so far as this show has gotten.
Okay, great. I didn't want to be coming off so mad about this.
No, go for it.
No,
go
please,
for it.
please, it did not age
But
good.
as a woman, during Pride Month, today is the first day of Pride.
Yep.
Thanks.
I'm also...
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. I'm just
We're
feeling very
ringing in pride.
offended. I'm feeling very offended by both of the scenes that we've seen so far.
It is, so, yes. The short answer is yes.
Not wrong.
Early on, we said that we weren't gonna, because already the show, as you might be able to guess, is too long, our show. So we're like, we don't have time to unpack all of the misogynistic and problematic things that Frank says. But in this episode, it's pretty hard to get away from just how...
It's the basis of the entire episode, is that he won't swallow his pride because he didn't get celery in his sandwich, and now all he eats is salsa?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, I'm sorry.
This is, we've seen some dysfunctional relationship patterns here, but this is the first time we really crack open Marie and Frank's relationship and see just how...
Gross.
Gross and really, like, fundamentally unfair their relationship is. How he's, expecting her to do all of this unpaid labor for him, and he's not contributing in any way. By the way, Frank is retired, so he has the time to make his own tuna sandwich. It's not like he's even contributing to the household in other ways. He's really just demanding of her, making her work for him.
And there's another part of that, too, because as soon as he leaves, he closes the door, and then he opens it back up again and goes, "Where are the knives?" Because he doesn't even know how his own house works.
Yeah.
He needs his wife.
He's never needed to cut anything.
He needs his wife for everything. So why be mean to her? Eat the slop, Frank.
Eat the slop.
Eat the slop, Frank.
Exactly. Yeah. This is truly an episode where Marie is right, Frank is wrong, and if they were of a different generation, or we've often suggested the Barones go to family therapy, if they have the tools to work these problems out, or even the self-awareness or the skill set to say this relationship is not good for me, we either need to change it or get a divorce. This is just like the peak example of it that we've seen up to this point.
Go even further than just Marie and Frank, because watching this episode, I really saw 2 generations of people hurting people.
Oh my God.
No, absolutely.
Welcome to Everybody Loves
You're catching on
Raymond.
quick.
This is what we've touched on already.
It is crazy because Deb and Ray get into their own little thing of he's not standing up for his wife when his mom is around, so she feels like she has to leave, and then she does.
And then he calls her, spoiler alert again, we're jumping all around now, but literally, "You've been gone for 30 minutes, when are you coming home?" I thought that was like straight up pathetic.
Can't do anything.
Yeah.
Eat the slop, Ray.
The slop, Ray. It was So yeah, this was not a great episode. I think that when we get to the Baronmeter eventually, it's not gonna be great for our old pal Ray or Frank if we want to put Frank on there.
I mean, you say this is not a great episode. I think the comedy for at some parts works, and I like the setup of the episode where it's okay. Marie stays at the Barone home, and then Deborah kind of migrates over to hang out with Frank, and kind of everyone gets new perspectives, almost.
It's definitely that classic Everybody Loves Raymond episode plot where on the surface it's, just a comedy premise, but then you take that little look under the hood and, oh my God, if I lived in this family, my life would be hell.
It's like...
and not in a funny way.
The way that I view this car, to put it in a metaphor, is the way that I view a tiny car from 2006. It works. It runs. I can put gas in it. Did I enjoy my experience? I would have picked any other newer car.
That's pretty much a good metaphor for this show, is it gets laughs from us even sometimes. And there are some legitimately good episodes, I would say. But yeah, the under the hood is
the job
mess.
done. But my goodness, we're just going to stand here and pick out all the crud from under that engine.
Yeah.
I think the redeeming part of the episode was Cerealgate.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Oh yeah, and we'll get into that.
Right.
So let's cover some ground here so we can talk about the good stuff. So yeah, Marie refuses to come home because she's fed up with Frank, as she should be. And then that's the end of that scene. They basically say, I'm staying here, or Marie says, I'm staying here, and Frank says, fine, I'll go take care of myself. And then later, I don't know if this is a different day or if this is later that night, Deborah is cleaning the stain on the carpet. The stain is our through line here. And Marie is upstairs. Ray says she's refolding their clothes. And this is just, we talked a little bit about last episode, or maybe it was the episode before. No, it was last episode. Marie showing love through food, through feeding Ray and seeing him enjoy food. I think it's a little bit of the same thing with cleaning, although it might also be a bit of an avoidance tactic for her. She can go into housework and sort of what is really busy work. The clothes don't need to be refolded to avoid engaging with the problem of, my husband is a monster. Sorry, Alex. It's true. This is not a good episode for Frank.
Val, in the beginning of this show, I claimed that I said I stand for Frank, but what I meant to say was I was a stand for Frank. And this was coming after probably 5 or 6 years from seeing this show, and now watching it again, I've realized I forgot all the shitty parts about Frank, and I remember the things like "slop to you" and the channel flicker and him quoting the Terminator saying "you'll be back." That's all I remembered about Frank.
And he does have a love of salsa. I will say this. I say that it's horrible, some of the things that Frank does and Frank says. Still some very, very funny moments. I'm gonna Peter Boyle is giving a killer performance.
A great performance.
I love
Very,
the
very
innocent
funny
grandpa moments of Frank.
Yeah.
Where he talks about discovering salsa. That shit's adorable. Yeah.
It's definitely Frank is the curmudgeonly old man is a great, type of character. And they use it really well a lot of the time. But, it is a sitcom, and we tend to overanalyze this show. We make a whole show about overanalyzing this show, and it's just that the context of Frank and Marie's relationship is troubling to modern audiences, I would say, or at least this modern audience.
I have no answer for you, but I feel the same way about most television. Right now, I'm going through a pretty big rewatch phase of my life. I recently tried to rewatch How I Met Your Mother, and it failed me completely.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was when I watched it the first time. Exactly. So then I'm like, okay, so I definitely have to put on my 2010 glasses on so I can understand what they were doing, because all sitcoms are written the same, even the ones today. They're written for an easy laugh. They're not written for people to go in and dissect it, play operation on it. It's there to be entertainment, and that alone. But I'm so far removed that I can't help but analyze it, because it isn't true for me today.
It's jarring. Okay, so Marie comes down the stairs. She has been, folding, refolding, and rehanging Ray and Deborah's clothes, and uses this as an opportunity to criticize Deborah for, her poor housekeeping, saying, and I think this is also sort of an avoidance tactic of Marie's to deflect attention away from her own problems by pointing out other people's. Her whole premise for this scene
we're just giving
is
family therapy right here, right now, to the Barones. You're not wrong though.
Not a qualified. I am not licensed to give therapy or psychological advice, listener.
Dear listener, I am also not a licensed therapist, but I will be therapizing this entire episode.
Oh yeah.
Nothing can stop me. Don't listen to me. Do not take my advice. Again,
our advice, I think it's safe to say, only applies to the Barones. So do not use it in your own
last
life.
Name is Barone.
Unless you are one of the Barones and you have crossed into our
In which case,
world.
God help us all.
In which case, you got bigger issues. Yeah.
But Marie's whole premise in criticizing Deborah's clothes folding is, God forbid if someone should die. And this rang so hypocritical to me, because we saw what happens when someone in the Barone family dies. Val, great Uncle Gus, Ray's great Uncle Gus, Marie's own uncle, died in season 1, episode 3, and nobody gave a shit. They made his funeral all about them, and they maybe mourned him for half a second.
It was this, but at a funeral.
So, so I found it kind of hypocritical because of Gus's death for Marie to be going on and on about what happens when Deborah will die. Nobody went through Gus's clothes and roasted him.
That would actually have been, that could have happened in a deleted scene. That would have actually been pretty funny.
Oh, the deleted scenes from Raymond. God, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, as Ray and Deborah are talking about how to get Marie out of their house and back over to Frank to talk about the issues that they have to address, Deborah asks Raymond to get over into the kitchen and talk to his mom.
Oh yeah, and then Ray says absolutely not, because then she'll give me the look. Right?
The look, and eventually he's convinced. Yes, fine. I will go shoot my shot. Talk to my own mother and tell her what I'm thinking in an honest and open way.
Okay. So the look, we were all there, guys. We saw the look.
We all saw the look.
The look would not have deterred me from telling that woman that she needs to go home.
I don't know about that. It would have hit me with a wave of guilt. That's
really?
The thing. It's not a scary thing, but it's like I can't hurt her. I can't hurt her.
But her feelings would not be hurt, because I would be like, Mom, listen, I love you. Stay as long as you want. You gotta go home.
Oh, I don't think that's gonna work on Marie. Marie's thing is just put the knife in me now. She would have hold the grudge.
But here's the thing: we know how manipulative she is, and if I see her make this face at me when I'm like trying to tell her to like go confront an issue, I'm gonna call bullshit. I'm gonna be like, she knows what she's doing.
You are a very gutsy person in real life. In this
scenario, well, it's easy to be gutsy when I don't have to prove how gutsy I would be.
I'm gutsy all the time. I would have done it. I would have told
Val
her.
would have done it. I believe Val would have told Marie to go fuck herself. I don't think that I would have had the gall to do that though.
No, the look was not intimidating at all. I definitely would have gone in there and just told her that she needs to go home and talk to her husband.
I get it. I'll be honest with you. I get it.
Mike, you're alone on this one.
I am, but I would have felt really guilty confronting on that one. I get it.
If the look had been more of like a, maybe she got a little weepy or something, like, I don't even know what that expression would look like, but it's not just, sort of tilt the head and sweetly look up at them.
It was just a look of innocence, and it was just like, it's, what it is? It's kind of like you can't step on a puppy, even if it's rabid. It's just like, you gotta do it, but you can't do it. You'll feel guilty for the rest of your life.
Mike, when have you ever stepped on a puppy because it was rabid?
When have you ever stepped on a rabid puppy? What does that solve?
Is that an original quote? Like, Michael Dormer, you shouldn't step on a puppy, even if it is rabid.
Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't, okay? Listen, if Old Yeller was a puppy, you gotta step on it. You gotta kill it just the same.
We've got two quotes from you,
gotta
Mike.
move on.
We've got, it's good to screw your wife.
It is good to screw your wife.
And don't step on a puppy, even if it's rabid.
I was actually the opposite of my point, but sure, let's go with that.
Your point was do step on a puppy, even if it's
my point was it's hard to step on a
but you
on a
still
rabid
have
puppy.
to do it.
You still gotta do it. But in this case, Ray's gonna be the one to step on the puppy.
So Ray's gonna so Ray goes to the kitchen to try and step on his mom.
Yeah,
and fails.
He can't do it. He can't do it. Yeah.
So
he has to go on a walk.
Yeah, he goes for a walk, and then this is actually a big moment because he walks over across the street. This is our first time in Marie and Frank's living room.
Is it?
It is.
I didn't even notice.
No way.
Yeah. No, it is.
Oh, wow, look at that. New set.
We've only been in the
counter.
kitchen so far, and
Frank is sitting down with a taped brick or something like
remote.
that onto the remote, and just sitting in front of the TV as he searches through the channels without hitting any buttons.
And I would like to say now that Frank invented TikTok.
Oh.
It's a very revolutionary episode.
You're 100% right.
I
They
didn't
invented
get
the
it
iPhone
at first.
and TikTok.
I didn't get the point of the endless scanning, but now I do. Now, thank you for contextualizing. It's just TikTok.
Yeah, we're that age. I mean, you guys can contest this. At least I feel I'm that age that I'm too young for everything, but I am too old for TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Same.
I am not on that wavelength because I don't follow children on TikTok.
You follow
like,
people.
I don't see children on TikTok, so I don't feel old because I'm seeing people my age.
And up.
Right. Like, if I was on Instagram and all I did was follow my cousins who are all younger than me, I would be like, I'm too old to be on here.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't be on it. But I'm on Instagram.
All right.
We're on Instagram, too, at Barone Zone.
Okay.
How shameless.
That's our
of you,
plug.
Adam.
You can reach out to us there, I guess. Yeah.
So then Ray sits down and tries to get Frank to realize the error of his ways, or tries to, like, for a second, and then Frank goes on about how awesome his life is now that Marie is, across the street. And I'm gonna be honest, sure, he's excited. I thought it was very pathetic him to be like, hey, did you know there's a grocery store and there's a woman handing out salsa?
Also, what was this racist salsa display that he came across in the grocery store? Did he go shopping at south of the border, or?
It feels like something that would have probably been around in the 90s.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like that 90s light racism that we
there
narrowly
are
avoided.
Things of this scene that really they ticked me off, and I will
run
list
them
them
down
for you.
Sure.
The man doesn't know what a supermarket is.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. We don't have one for this.
He went to the supermarket by himself. Saw a woman dressed in a sombrero next to a donkey holding a plastic jar of over 12 ounces of salsa, and that's all he bought.
Yeah, he never met. Well, the chips, presumably.
He also bought the chips.
Because I don't think
feel
he would
like the
have.
chips weren't bought, and I'll tell you why I think the chips weren't bought. Because he buys the salsa and he goes, "This stuff is delicious," and Ray goes, yeah, it is. I've heard of salsa. And he says, but have you had it on a chip? Which means that he had to have come to the conclusion that maybe if I stick this chip with this dip, it's going to be delicious. I think he was raw dogging the salsa with the spoon. And later discovered the chip.
Val, you have to come back every week so we can justify making a mug for you, much like Mike's It's Good to Screw Your Wife mug.
Raw dog that
Raw
salsa.
dog.
Maybe it can be like a bowl.
We gotta make it a salsa.
Yeah.
A bowl. Raw dog the
I'm
salsa.
happy to come back. I just don't know how many more episodes I have left in
We
me.
should make
I'm a
merch
limited
for
talent.
every guest. I think.
In order, I would like to address Val's points, because all of them are valid. Number
Oh,
one.
I have one more.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
go ahead.
hold
Plus, all right. So on top of he only bought salsa, no chip. Came to the conclusion later that he could have chip with salsa. For a man who's very manly, portrays that machismo of himself, right? He didn't have a single meat in his house. He was not complaining about no red meat.
That's true.
That's
Well,
an interesting point.
Frank is a meat eater.
I think in the
as we've
next
known.
episode, or the next scene rather, when or maybe it's not the next scene, maybe it's later, but when Marie is cooking for Ray, she's making him steak. Marie we've seen up to this point, and definitely see moving forward. She makes very rich, fattening food. Mike even accused her of feeding Frank nothing but raw sugar.
All right, listen, not my finest moment.
So she and Ray even says that Deborah, as a contrast, cooks for health, whereas I think Frank pretty much can have whatever he wants. But he, Marie is in the Italian section. She's not going over to the burro lady to enjoy the exotic flavors from south of the border. So she probably would never have thought to get salsa. But when you're a strange old man wandering through the supermarket and a lady hands you this mystery condiment and you discover it for the first time, I think that's more exciting to Frank than he's had steak for years now.
I agree with you, but I find that it is very hard to break old men out of habit. And I'm not saying that an old man cannot break his habit and do whatever he wants. I'm just saying that in the short while that I have known Frank, which is just today, and all he ate was salsa, I think that he would have done. I think that he would have done a bit where he gets a meat and pour salsa on top of it.
You should have been in the writer's room.
You
I'm
should have.
telling you,
That
it's
would have been
genius.
funny.
That's
That
a
would have
white
been
man for you.
that got me thinking about your comment, Val, where it was like it's hard to for old men to break out of kind of like their pre-established values and like kind of like patterns. And I think that's absolutely true unless they do it themselves in a weird way. Like I could see an alternate universe where for whatever reason Ray has been trying for years to get Frank to try salsa, and Frank goes on and on about how he never had salsa during the war, he never had salsa growing up, and he's not gonna try this new condiment when he's been happy his whole life. And then one day he tries it, and then because he tried it, he's all about it.
It's his
now.
idea now. Yeah.
So Frank is sitting on the couch, and he's got his infinite scanner, and he's got his salsa, and he has a stack of VHS tapes of Schwarzenegger movies. He finally doesn't have to watch Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility, which it's, I like that Marie is... Marie seems to be watching good stuff. I wouldn't complain about that. But then again, I am not a man's man like Frank.
You weren't in Korea.
I wasn't in the war.
Yeah.
But I also looked up what he says. He has the complete works of Arnold Schwarzenegger, which this is 1996. At this time, that includes Jingle All the Way, Kindergarten Cop, and Twins. But he hard pass on Junior from Frank. So where's the line here? Is it just the idea of a man being pregnant?
I am not familiar with the completed works of Mr. Former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, but
I believe he was Mr. Universe several times as well.
Former
and
Universe.
Former
Another
Mr.
important-
Universe.
Yeah.
I'm not completely aware of his entire filmography, but in what universe does he get pregnant and that is offensive to Frank? Is this a transphobic film and it's now just hopefully transphobic, or what's happening?
Honestly, and
I haven't
somebody
seen
who's seen it and can speak on this can correct me, of course, but I actually watched Junior fairly recently in the last year.
Ooh.
Okay.
So it's not really about gender. It's not, and for context about like where movies were with trans issues at this point, this was around, or maybe even a little after Ace Ventura, which is, now they didn't realize it at the time, but now it's, notoriously transphobic. Gender doesn't really play into it. They maybe touch a little bit on sexuality because for anyone who hasn't seen Junior, the plot is Arnold Schwarzenegger is a scientist who is studying fertility and
accidentally baby seahorses himself?
Yeah, basically.
Wow. That's a term.
That's baby
I love it.
They're developing this like fertility serum, and they're funding him and Danny DeVito. Their funding gets cut out by the university, or they take their lab away or something.
Does he have Danny DeVito's baby?
No, he has Emma Thompson's baby with her
I have
eggs.
to watch this movie. What
I
a
know.
star cast!
It's honestly, it's not that bad. So he injects
I'm
him.
not gonna lie.
He's like, oh, I know the serum is gonna work, but nobody believes it. So he injects himself with the fertility serum that can enable males to get pregnant.
So my new suggestion is that we watch this movie as the podcast
Bonus
season
episode.
finale.
Bonus episode, Junior.
Bonus episode.
Right. And we dissect it.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that's the least connected to Everybody Loves Raymond bonus episode that we have planned, but we are planning to watch the Irish movie Waking Ned Divine
That's true.
in several different iterations. But to answer the question, Junior would maybe be offensive to Frank because he does take on what are typically considered sort of more feminine qualities as he's going through the pregnancy process, and to see a big man like Arnold, be sensitive, basically would probably be considered offensive to Frank.
Then my challenge is what his preconceptions of what a man should
exactly.
be.
Well, now that we've taken 5 minutes to explain the one-line joke.
So anyway, no, I don't think Junior is obviously transphobic. I think it's just Frank's conception of what it means to be a man, and seeing big Arnold be sensitive is offensive to him. Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the Barone home.
Yeah, then Ray basically is like, gives up, says, all right, Frank's got his better life, and then goes back to the Barone house. Deborah's very upset to see him. She's like, Ray, where's Frank?
This is like classic Ray, just avoiding confrontation at all costs and not doing the bare minimum to get his family to communicate with each other.
I liked his sleeping bit where, like when he avoided like talking with his parents growing up by pretending to sleep often. And then, of course, the joke follows through when Marie comes down and Ray jumps on the couch and pretends to sleep, which is beautiful. And that is definitely something I did once or twice in my early teens. And it helped me discover a passion for taking naps.
That's good. Naps are supposed to be good for you. Yeah, I do think that's a really solid, like, when we get the first joke, or the first beat of this joke, of him telling it to Deborah, it sounds like, oh, that's funny because that's ridiculous that he would be sleeping all the time. But then to actually see it in action is a good callback.
It is. It's a good bit.
Yeah, that's a great scene. I thought,
and then you see the very first time that Marie is thoughtful. She starts screaming at Deborah about something, and then, she starts criticizing Deborah on the clothes situation. Then she looks over, she's like, "Oh, sorry,"
Yeah.
and then stops.
Well, she's
Feeling like this is
thoughtful
a
for
tool that she
Ray.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the whole point of the show. Everybody loves Ray, and they hate everyone else.
That's true.
Yeah, I believe in the first episode we mentioned that everybody loves Raymond, everybody hates Deborah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, isn't it? But is that just the end of that scene?
No,
That's all I have written down for that.
I actually think, right after that, Deborah goes over to the house to talk to Frank.
Right.
Right.
And
She
then,
also falls prey to the look. I want to mention it's not just me.
That's
It's
true.
not just Ray.
Which
Deborah
I
also
was
hates the look.
surprised. I was surprised when she fell for the look because I was like, she's a no nonsense person when it comes to Ray. She'll slap him awake because he's a faker.
Mm-hmm.
When Marie is faking it, you just go take a walk?
Yeah.
You can't step on the puppy.
I think
I guess she
Deborah.
ate the slop. She ate the slop.
She ate the slop.
I don't think Deborah's quite used to Marie's bullshit quite yet.
That is where it boils down.
And that's what I think the reason she wasn't able to do it, and Ray is just that it's his mom and he's scared of her.
Yeah.
We've seen so far that Deborah is definitely, one of the more capable and competent people in the Barone household and community. But she mostly will try to confront Marie through Ray. I don't think we've seen her really stand up to Marie directly confrontationally.
Yeah, you're right.
All right.
We always criticize, it always does fall on Raymond, which is kind of the point of the show, is that Ray can never follow through for mostly good reasons, meaning like it's a good reason why Ray's the one taking advantage, because it's, his parents that are causing the problem nine times out of 10. That being said, that's an interesting point that Deborah never says, "Screw this, I'm doing it myself," which is not saying that she has to. It's just interesting that she never does.
Yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Deborah decides to go over and reconcile things with Frank herself. But we don't see that right away. We see Marie vacuuming while Ray is on the couch on the phone with Deborah. And
Deb is talking about how she is now chilling and grilling with Frank.
Oh,
and
right.
That they're eating salsa, and then Frank grabs the phone and goes meh, and then hangs up. And they're like, "Isn't this the fucking best? Guess what I made? Eggs for dinner."
With the salsa in the eggs.
I like the dynamic of
Huevos
Deborah and Frank
rancheros.
getting along, having huevos rancheros, which is...
I do too, actually.
Yeah.
And I think Frank and Deborah have a very fun... I hope we get to see more of it. More of just Deborah and Frank interacting.
This is actually something interesting, and I guess I should have brought this up in the beginning of the podcast because it's kind of just a behind-the-scenes fact. But apparently, Patricia Heaton and what's Frank's voice actor's name?
Voice actor?
Peter Boyle.
Yeah, Peter Boyle.
Voice and body.
Actor's name.
Voice and body.
Voice and body. Patricia Heaton and Peter Boyle apparently did not get along on set.
It's a classic Ethel and Frank.
And
I did read about this.
The reason, or apparently one of the big reasons, is that they disagreed largely politically, with Patricia Heaton acting more as a right-wing conservative. And Peter Boyle acting as more of a liberal, which is crazy to think that the old white guy
was more liberal than Patricia.
Is the liberal leading.
Peter Boyle is very famously very liberal.
Yeah.
And I don't know how far right Patricia Heaton goes, but apparently enough to strongly disagree with Peter.
Yeah, it looks like I think she's pretty squarely that sort of Christian right sort of vibe.
It's a fun fact because you never would have figured the argument out based on the way they're acting in the scene.
Yeah, no, they seem to get
chemistry.
Great chemistry. Yeah,
good chemistry.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely. Where am I in the notes? Huevos Rancheros, one for the recipe book.
Not the recipe.
The recipe book. Oh no!
Oh, you slipped that one in.
Here's what we like on this show is puns. We like
Yes,
jingles,
we love the puns.
and we love overanalyzing the family dynamics of sitcom characters.
Yeah.
So we've hit all three today.
We sure did. But yeah, Deborah goes over there, is having a great time, and then, if I remember correctly, this is when Robert comes in, right?
Yes,
and is just
I thought Robert's
super
entrance was
confused.
really funny. Just the physical,
He cracked me up in this episode.
just his physicality and confusion is
Just
funny.
where's Ma? Over there. Where are you over here? To hang out.
Where do I go?
Where do I go?
He is really giving large and dumb. Am I mistaken?
No, that's the
No, he's a-
we
He's a himbo.
described him
Okay.
also as having sort of a Lenny from Of Mice and Men energy.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely,
And
at
when we
least
get to
early on in where we
Also,
are
he's
now.
a cop.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a NYPD lieutenant. at this
I
point?
feel like
Sergeant.
I feel like of the two brothers, Barone
Thank you.
might be the more qualified of the two to handle policing.
What is your first impression of Robert? All you've seen at this point is a large man come through the door with a look of utter confusion on his face.
Immediately, I am intimidated because I already knew that Ray is tall, and this man is taller. And dear viewers, I stand here less than 5 feet tall. I was struck with intimidation. That was my first feeling. And then he spoke, and I said, I'm still a little bit scared, but it sounds like he's okay.
Yeah.
Brad Garrett plays Robert as, and we've talked about this before, like an elephant being piloted by a mouse.
The smallest large man you've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. He's like very much like, Meet Dave? The giant where Eddie Murphy
Have
is.
you met Dave?
How'd you meet
The
Dave?
Eddie Murphy being piloted by a bunch
Oh,
of tiny
yeah,
creatures.
It's-
because Dave is the spaceship.
It's like
Yes.
Robert
Oh,
is
yeah.
the tiny person inside of Meet Dave, who is.
It's funny. We talk about
um,
Meet Dave, and the only thing I can remember from that movie is the scene with the hot dogs.
I remember. And then immediately
Okay.
after
I feel that this is another one of those movies that I have to write down for the month of June to watch.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen it in a while, but you may be onto something.
he
A
does.
bunch of little men inside a bigger man.
But he does have a heterosexual relationship, but maybe there's something there. Like
Hey, if it was active choices, I wonder what's going on. Maybe I need to dissect this because it's still you could still take it as a construct of gender
I think
and
yeah, that's true.
discuss that.
what the
There is one
podcast
moment-
space is clamoring for is a sort of gender studies and sexuality, criticism lens on
Meet
Meet Dave.
I'm certainly unqualified, but I'd be happy. No, ecstatic to do it.
I really want an analysis of the hot dog scene. That's what I really want.
I'm ready.
Regardless, I think we're just about ready to tackle, as Val put it, Cerealgate.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
so
We
this
finally
is-
got to
Cerealgate!
Cerealgate because we cut back to the Barone home where Marie is just breaking Ray down into his infantile
Yes,
state.
she's cooking for him. She's making like a whole multi-course meal with she's cutting cucumbers and she's
meat
cooking
on cheeses?
steak. Yeah, putting cheese on steak.
I feel like that's a sin.
Steak
And
steak
doing,
pizzaiola.
And doing pies in the
pizza.
oven.
Yeah, doing a pecan pie. I wrote down that I think this is our first big food episode.
Yeah,
And-
I
yeah.
liked how when Marie revealed to Ray that she is baking a pie, the sound Ray made was, first of all, I thought was very funny, and I loved like the little hug he gave her.
Yeah.
After he realized that there was a pie in the oven, I just thought that was a really funny little sweet moment.
It was.
Knowing what
But
we
yeah.
know now about Phil Rosenthal and his whole, foodness and his multiple TV shows about eating food, and his podcast now about eating food, it's interesting to see this channeled through the lens of the Barones. And we've already sort of talked about how the way that Marie uses food is a little dysfunctional and is not the sort of joyful way that in recent years we've seen Phil Rosenthal talk about food. But it's just interesting how big a role food plays in this episode, regardless.
We see Robert also come in, who immediately jumps in on the babying.
Yeah.
Gets very, very excited.
Marie was offered milk. I love this whole scene. It looks like Val needs to chime in right
on
here.
the milk issue.
I just remembered my emotional state while watching this scene. Chaos. Pure chaos. There's cheese going on meat. There's a pie in the oven. She's offering him milk, and he has more than one type of milk in the fridge. What's stopping this man from getting a car phone? He sounds like he has expendable income.
He's clearly a man of means. He has whole milk.
He has
skim.
2 things of milk, and he has chocolate syrup to go in it, which means that he's within the tax bracket where he can't afford to buy chocolate milk, but he can have 2 milks and chocolate.
So far, we're 2-2 on our guests really unpacking the fridge in the Barone house.
You're right. Yeah.
It's important.
You're not wrong, Val, and that's really, really awesome.
The question I wanted to pose is significantly less stakes than that. But I did. First of all, I did think it was funny that when Marie asked Ray, like, "Oh, do you want it to be chocolate milk?" He gives like the little kid like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
and then Robert does it too later. But did anyone else notice how Marie made the chocolate milk?
Chocolate first? Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never done
the
that.
syrup first and then the milk, which I've never tried.
Chaos. I'm telling you, chaotic. And she offers him chocolate milk, and he goes, "Yes," childlike. And then she goes, "Oh, I think I'll have a glass." Marie, how old are you? How old are you? Why are you
I'm sorry.
drinking?
You're never too old for chocolate milk.
I
okay?
get
Come
it.
on.
As a person who doesn't drink milk on the regular, it's strange to see people just drink milk.
Exactly.
It's chocolate
I've never
I don't care the flavor.
recreationally drank milk. And
The
it's-
only
yeah.
occasion where you can recreationally drink milk is a milkshake, and that's ice cream.
Yes.
What about egg creams? Yes or no?
I
Who has had an egg cream?
are you a
Not me.
Get the hell out of here.
I love egg creams.
cable car operator in 1930s
so far
Brooklyn?
We have Val, you're replacing 2 members of this podcast. Just gonna be you and me next week.
I think I'm doing a great job, so
You
I'm
are
happy
doing
to be
awesome.
back.
I am canceling Alex for egg cream, so I'm not sure why we canceled that. I kind of forget, but we
I
canceled
believe
him.
I died answering my car, actually receiving a fax through my ass.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
He's dead.
All right,
I
So we
died.
have ass facts and egg cream.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
can we rename the show? We have to keep going through this episode.
Yeah.
So she gets out a glass for him and for her.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the brother walks in the door. I'm immediately struck with intimidation because this man is taller than Ray.
Yeah.
And then he speaks and he gets offered a glass of milk and they both have milk, but Ray is fighting for more chocolate in his milk. It's not going anywhere. It
The
simply isn't
competition
going anywhere.
is fierce between the Barone brothers and usually nonsensical. Very immature. in
The
nature.
rate that they revert to children in this scene is shocking because they were both. Robert is coming from presumably murdering someone on the job.
Jesus.
We've seen how quick a trigger finger Robert is. In the very first episode, Val, Robert pulls a gun on his own family.
Because his
So I
It's not even like a big
we
deal.
almost got one for the cum counter that day, and Robert got shocked by it and pulled a gun on his brother. Okay,
Both of you need to
that's the
stop. You
context.
both need to stop.
About
Regardless,
what?
Anyway, the entire time I was feeling I was feeling extremely distraught. Chaos ensued. And we were talking about how this episode felt long, but a lot happens in a very short amount of time. This was one of those moments where I was like, I need to move forward because I can't go back. I can't witness that again.
Well, luckily we get out of that scene pretty quickly, and we go to...
with the commercial break, right?
Yeah, there's a commercial break. I got Antonelli's cheese shop again, but we don't have to talk about it. We're already short on time.
We're almost 2 hours in.
Frank and Marie's...
We haven't even got to Cerealgate.
We cut back to Frank and Marie's living room, where Deborah and Frank are sitting on the couch doing the endless scan, and I think Deborah correctly... starts to experience migraine symptoms because it seems insane that you would sit there and have the channel change every 10 to 15 seconds. Frank is eating ice cream, though, and he basically implores Deborah to go be a good woman and get him some ice cream, and she lays down the law a little bit and says no. I wonder... if there are, is there a world, and I fear that there is, where there were men at home in 1996 watching this and saying, no, Frank is making good points. Frank is definitely in the right on this one.
Absolutely, there were. In
That's
my opinion,
absolutely
there had to
unhinged.
Yeah. I hope it wasn't the majority, but there definitely were at least a couple.
It might have
Hey, if you guys make a podcast about Everybody Loves Raymond, that means that a majority of people have seen Everybody Loves Raymond. And that's a lot of dudes. Look at how many dudes I'm talking to about Everybody Loves Raymond.
Just the demographics of this Zoom alone. Yeah. Well, we know that Mike is like, let's just, in a word, was at January 6th. So just the demographics of this Zoom alone.
You saw the party hat. It was great.
The party hat. But yeah, so this is definitely the point where I was like, okay, we have to face how problematic Frank is being in this episode, because we've tried to just breeze by it and say that's Frank, he's problematic. We don't have time to go into it. In this one, we really have to. This is like really gross behavior.
We did a lot already, but yeah, you're right. It continues.
Yeah.
Definitely after that point, I had been trying to push past it, and that was the third strike. He's out.
And then, what is she? Deborah says something, and then, something like, you're not always going to have your mom there to take care of you or something. Or, like, not every woman wants to be your mom. Smash cut 2. This is a true smash cut. Marie pouring cereal for her sons.
She specifically says, like, no woman wants to play the mother all the time.
Right.
And then the joke is smash cutting to Marie, who, as far as we have seen her, has only played the mom.
That's true. She is pouring cereal for the boys, and a prize comes out in Robert's bowl. And here we go.
Cerealgate. Pre-Cerealgate. I have something to say about what we have just encountered in these scenes, in the smash cut itself. So pre-Cerealgate, Deb is talking to Frank, and she mentions that Marie might be tired. Then we get to the smash cut where Marie is working tirelessly for her children, which begs the question, what is actually happening to Marie? Why did she say no to her husband this time? Was it because she was out of straws that day for him alone? Because, Queen, you're not exhibiting tiredness.
Yes.
We've seen in the past that Marie tends to have a lot less patience for Frank than she does for Robert, and especially Raymond. And maybe that was exuded here. Maybe Marie is just, focusing on Raymond and Robert, kind of what Adam was alluding to earlier, just kind of as a way to kind of avoid confronting her issues with Frank right now.
I think there's a type of person who keeps themselves so busy that they don't have to engage with more complicated. It's very easy to make dinner for Raymond. It's not easy to, that's a very mechanical task. It is not easy to go to marriage counseling and figure out why your husband is such a monster and why you stay. Or,
So Ray eats the slop. Frank eats a very specific slop.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah, Raymond does really appreciate Marie's cooking when she does it for him in this episode. Maybe that's also why she did this. Maybe because she just wanted to get kind of the recognition that she was owed, and she thought she could get it from Raymond, which
The character
she did.
analysis we needed.
Yeah, really, we get very, very deep into this. And I think
Probably deeper than need be, but it's
Definitely.
I think it's worth it.
But you know, we gotta fill the time, and we're doing that in spades today. But yeah, so she's pouring cereal for. She does, clearly is not tired with Ray and Robert because she's pouring them cereal, and the prize comes out of the cereal box. It is a baking soda powered submarine, which sounds amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want this prize? But it falls into Robert's bowl, and Robert assumes that the prize is his, and then Ray says, well, it was in my bowl, and Ray says, my bowl, or something. What does he say?
It's my house,
It's my house.
my bowl.
My house, my bowl.
My bowl, my cereal, something like
Yes.
that. Yeah, which is, I mean, all right. Let's all take sides. Who's on Robert's side?
Cerealgate.
I'm on no one's
Who's on-
side.
You're on
I
no
have
one's
a
No, come
side.
on.
Okay.
So we all have siblings here, yes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've all eaten cereal here, yes?
I have.
Yeah.
Yep.
If your sibling, out of your favorite cereal, got the toy in their bowl and you're eating the same cereal, whose toy is it?
Oh, it's definitely the bowl. Whoever's bowl it falls in, that's the bowl. That's the possession.
That's
I
that's
agree.
my rule too. I think that's what's most fair.
Now, to be clear,
I
if
would be
I want the toy, I am going to fight for it. But I also recognize that the rule stands of the bowl that it falls in. That's the person that owns the toy.
I was raised in such a way that the toy was removed from the box first, at the opening of the cereal, and then
gotta
became
dig through
communal property of the household. So this is not a conflict that I
Oh
experienced.
my god,
That
my
is
sister and I would have murdered
something-
each other.
That is something that only came to my household after a few errors on my parents' part of letting us fight over this toy. It is whoever's bowl it falls into, but I have the good mind that I'm like, my sister is going to get tired of this toy. And I'm going to have this toy, and it's going to be pristine. I just have to be patient. But what I lack is patience. So I was ready to fight. I take, what's the brother's name? Robert's side.
That's right.
100%.
I
I'm with
also
you.
Yeah, I'm on
I
Robert's
will
side.
I'm gonna draw a little line in here where Marie does bring up the point where it's when Ray takes the toy, Marie says, "Oh well, you got it last time," and then Robert says, "That was 30 years ago,"
It's a good joke.
which is funny.
It's a
but
very good joke.
in an alternate timeline where maybe this was not 30 years ago and in reality they're still kids and it was last week, then would
Then
Ray
that's-
get the toy if
then
Robert
that's
got
fair.
the last
Oh.
one?
And that's fair.
I think Marie is
Then it's fair.
to criticize Marie's parenting a little bit as someone who doesn't have children. She should, in my opinion, instead of having this turn system, teach them how to share the toy.
Oh my god, you could write parenting books. Look
Yeah.
at you. Look
At
at you,
this
pedagogy, professional development, not being in the classroom for 10 years. That's awesome.
Pardon.
At this stage in
10
their
years.
life, they should be able to share.
Yes, at this
If
stage.
this was
Yes,
something...
They are.
That is
are.
a given.
They are grown
That is
men.
a given.
We're talking
This
about
is also
them
a
like they are
2-cent
6.
piece of plastic. This is a worthless item.
Also, do you even have baking soda to run the?
We know
the
Ray
soda?
does.
It's not his house, so Rob wouldn't have been able to make it work in that house.
That's
You know
true.
what? That's a point in Ray's favor, but I'm still sticking by Rob. It's
I'm
falling
still
in this
sticking
thing.
by Rob too, especially because I believe that the Alex, what you said is true. If it was when we were kids and it was last week, then it goes to whoever's turn it wasn't. This is a very spaced out process. It has been over 30 years. It fell into that man's
Statute of
bowl.
limitations
Right.
has expired.
It is that man's toy.
It is that giant man's tiny toy.
Put
He
that
gets
on a
the
mug.
yellow submarine.
Oh, lucky me. Yeah,
If I had written this scene, Robert would have, once they started fighting over the toy, Robert would have pulled his gun and the show would have ended. Because Raymond
Everybody
would be dead.
loved Raymond.
I do want to say the running bit that Robert has super strength is very, very funny. Where he pushes Ray, Ray falls over like 3 cushions. Ray charges up and plows in, and Robert does not move it at all. I thought,
and
that
then
was,
lifts him over his head.
Yeah, it's such a good.
Val, in a
it's
previous
running bit, but it's such a good
episode,
bit.
Robert ripped an entire shower fixture and some wall out of the wall. I don't remember why. Seemingly
I don't know,
unprovoked.
and I
He
believe
was-
it.
He was fiddling with it, and then he walked down the stairs saying, "Shower's broken."
Yeah.
I believe that.
So Robert is some sort of superhuman.
Yeah. Hulk.
Hulk man. A he-Hulk, if you will. But then Deborah comes in while Ray is aloft, and she says, do what I do, Robert. Just tell him you're tired, and he'll get off of you. God, this audience...
Good line.
They loved it.
They loved it.
They do not like to fuck their spouses. Oh, my God.
Add it to the horn dog counter. The audience.
I mean, yeah, there you go.
I
The
was
horny
going to
counter.
say, I think this is a failed nut.
This is not quite a member of the cum counter. But
Typically,
yeah, it's an
our
attempt.
criteria have been Ray has to be actively horny and about to have sex when he is foiled either by something of his own doing or his family. Like, for example, in the pilot, Deborah is implying that it's time to get it on. Ray goes upstairs and he's taking his shoes off and he's like, good old sex. I'm going to try new stuff tonight. But then Deborah comes in.
That's a direct quote.
Yeah, that is a direct quote. But then Deborah comes in and conflict ensues. But
So you're only counting live nuts.
yeah,
Live nuts.
really
Confirmed nuts.
because we did have
Nuts.
in one episode where he told his friend Bernie that Mike seems to think this was a hand job, but
I think it was a hand job.
we can assume.
I ran
yeah,
out
anyway.
of words.
But anyway, Bernie, he says to Bernie, man, Deborah's been doing everything for me recently, including that. So I'm thinking that means a hand job. But
we don't need to
they-
relitigate that.
We've had this argument.
We genuinely have.
Frank then enters, and the horseplay ceases. He makes the tiniest effort at reconciliation. Does he say he ran out of salsa and he's going to the grocery store to get more, or does he just say he's going to the store?
I think he just said he's going to the grocery
Right.
store and asked if she wants to
Come walk with him.
and that's all it took.
In
That's
the
all it
case
took?
where he did finish all of the salsa and he is going to buy more, he most certainly had to have been raw dogging the salsa. There are not enough chips in one bag for
That was
over
a
12
big bowl.
ounces.
You don't know that he dumped it all over the eggs too. Don't
That's
forget
true.
That.
He was using it.
Yeah, but he had leftover when he was eating the eggs because they were still
That's
out.
true.
That's true. He
I'm with Val. on
did
this
he
one.
use it
was
on
raw
the
dogging
ice
it.
cream that he was eating? Do you think?
Oh God,
He was
I
heating
hope
up
not.
fudge, so
Maybe
I
he-
hope not.
Thinks salsa and fudge are the same thing.
Fudge. Tomato fudge.
Tomato fudge.
Anyway, yeah. So Frank's invitation to walk seems to imply to Marie that he wants to reconcile, and then everything is fine. And then Deborah says, and I found this very poignant.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we should examine it too closely. And I was like, well, that's what we're doing today.
That's what we're going to.
The exact line, I wrote it all down because it was too hilarious not to.
Yeah.
For some reason, that relationship works. I don't think we should examine it too closely.
And here we are, 2 hours and 5 minutes in.
Examining it.
This is our problem, our fatal flaw with this podcast.
They
Is
wrote
we
the joke
were
just
so
for us.
Yeah.
interested
Hey.
in all
They
of this
knew in
that-
30
You guys are
years.
Everybody Love Raymond rebels.
We don't
Break
do
the
what Deborah
system.
tells us to do.
Fuck Ray.
And then the scene ends with Deborah. We very narrowly. So she talks about Robert lifting Ray up or Ray being on top of Robert, and she's like something to the effect of, "I'd like to try that," and she tries to jump on him, and I read this as a little bit of horniness and maybe like, ooh, I want to get on top of that flannel, get underneath those baggy.
Get all up in that fluff.
Yeah. But instead we get a little physical gag where she misses and falls behind the couch.
Do you guys think that like the writers are sitting around just like, we don't know how to end the episode? Dick joke. And
yeah,
that's how they got to this.
That's how they've ended several episodes so far.
Yeah,
notably the one with the funeral, with some implication of sex. But yeah, that is the end of the.
I was not happy with the end of the episode due to physical gag. The gaggery was not there. I was not surprised. I mean, I was surprised when she fell because she fell so slowly and intentionally.
True.
It did not seem to be like
fallen.
she tried. Right.
Do you think Patricia Heaton was like, that's gonna hurt, and they walked her down slowly, or do you think they tried once, forgot to turn the camera on, and she was like, if I do it again, I'm gonna break my nose?
Mike, what I need to tell you, and another thing, Val, that happens often is I explain how show business works to Mike is the reason they have her fall behind the couch is so they can put a little mat back there so that it doesn't hurt her. It's
she definitely fell on like a tumbler mat for
from the gym
or whatever.
I really was hoping that they had a stunt double for Deborah. That's what I really wanted.
I feel like it would have been funnier if it was a stunt double and she fell that slowly.
Especially if it was like one of those flash dance stunt doubles where the guy has a mustache. That's always good.
Big and burly Deb.
Big and burly Deb.
But that fall did not convince me. I was not there for it. If I had to score it, it would be a 0.
Well, she didn't stick the landing, so.
Oh shit.
She was holding on to him so gingerly. Very like, I'm just gonna get there.
Not
she
the
had
best
no
acting in the episode.
No commitment,
for sure.
no upper body strength involvement, just plap.
Exactly.
Well, she's not a physical actor, it would seem.
No.
Or like a.
Oh, she's got to get good.
She's a Catholic actor. Anyway, so then we go to our
clothes.
hot clothes.
The opposite of the cold open.
Yes, the opposite of the cold open, hot close.
Very good.
We want to learn the real term, but
No, it's hot clothes.
I don't want to. I kind of just want to keep calling it this forever.
It's Robert.
Steamy end.
Yeah, the end.
Doesn't even matter.
Robert with the cereal again, trying to get another toy, and he finally gets it to fall into his bowl.
Lucky me.
Lucky me. And then Frank with the callback. What does he say exactly? My house, my bowl, or something to that effect.
Lucky you, something like that.
Something like you're the lucky one.
Yeah.
And then we cut to black, and then Robert delivers his last line of just like, not again. And then that's the end of the episode.
Just another.
I
Go
have
ahead, Val.
one thing to point out. Have you noticed that they were eating cereal dry the whole time, yet had 2 different kinds of milk in the house?
I did not notice that, actually.
I noticed it.
That's their drinking milk. They eat cereal dry, but they drink straight milk,
I cannot
straight
stand
whole.
by this.
Mix it inside the Barone body.
No, no.
In the milk chamber, the milk mixes with the solid.
Cereal first, then you drink your milk, and then you do jumping jacks.
Personally, and this might be controversial, I find the notion of drinking cow milk disgusting when it's not within another product. The idea of a milk chamber in the Barone body, though, takes it to a whole other level of disgusting for me.
I'm gonna drink some milk when I get home, just to
I
participate
think
in the milk chamber.
The idea of you drinking milk, no offense, but I'm not gonna need to hit the nut button for that one.
All right, you stick with your own nut juice. I'll stick with my cow.
Mike.
What?
Anyway, in this episode,
What?
Okay.
What? Almond milk is just nut juice.
So
Moving
I
on.
drink oat milk. So
Val, you've been trying
Still
to say
nut
something
juice.
for like 5
oat
minutes.
is
now.
not a nut.
Also, on the hot clothes, I do want to say Robert had a comically, and it wasn't pointed out, a comically large bowl he was pouring his.
Well, he has to
cereal
pour the
into.
whole box out to get to the
Like
toy.
he was actively searching for this.
I thought
toy.
it would have
And
been.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead.
I also think it shows that Robert is kind of missing any agency in his life, and we've talked about this again, where no matter where he is not top banana. He is. He is never one to be guaranteed the prize, even when he gets it.
Right. He even, we don't see him at work at this point, but, based on everything else in his life, we can assume that he's at the bottom rung of the ladder no matter where he is. I think it would have been funny if Robert had multiple boxes of cereal around him, much like at the end of the Look, Don't Touch episode where with the giant pile of Parmesan. To see him with a giant pile of cereal would have been very funny.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Again, if I had written the episode, Robert would have murdered his brother over the toy, and then on death row, he would have his last meal would be cereal, and he would get the
Until he
toy,
gets the toy.
and then the
Lucky
guard
me.
would take it away from him.
Yeah, exactly.
The alternate reality where Everybody Loves Raymond didn't get renewed for a second season.
And they were like, "We're going out big."
Yeah.
So that's the episode at long last, and the only thing that we have left to do, Val, what we do is every episode we rate Ray's performance as a husband, son, and father on a scale of 1 to 10. This scale is called the Baronmeter, which is a portmanteau of Barone and barometer, and we compare him to the great and terrible sitcom and television dads of all time. At 10 on the scale, we have Danny Tanner, we have Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince. On the low end of the scale, we have Don Draper and Walter White, men who actively cause their families harm through their action. Previously, Ray has pretty much come in on the lower half of the scale, although last episode he had a shocking performance. He came in at an 8.3. For this episode, for me, I gotta give Ray, I want to give him a 4. I'm gonna say 4 because he really does not, nobody does anything to really solve the problem at the core of this episode. But Ray certainly doesn't. He, abdicates responsibility almost completely after facing the mildest hurdle in reconciling his parents. There's an argument to be made, of course, that that's not Ray's responsibility, but, that the relationship between Marie and Frank is something that they need to work out together among themselves. But when Marie is entering his home and negatively impacting his family by, actually positively impacting his family by cooking for and cleaning for them, but when it's invading his life and his space, then he has, I think, a responsibility to play there to make sure that the conflict gets resolved. He doesn't do that at all in this episode. So as a son, not great at all. As a brother, by the way, nearly beats the shit out of his, or nearly has the shit beaten out of him.
He has no
Yeah.
chance. Yeah, exactly.
You would like to be.
But
One
I
punch,
think he
Robert.
instigated
One
the
punch,
fight.
Robert wins.
I think he
Yeah,
instigates the fight. So, obviously not a great brother in this episode. As a husband, he passes off the responsibility for reconciling his parents to Deborah, which is a shitty position to put your spouse in, to have to reconcile a conflict between your parents. The kids, though, he does succeed in putting them to bed at the beginning of the episode, although
Did they even make a single appearance?
the kids
this
are not
episode?
in this episode at all.
The kids are
Mike,
not
it's not
all
about
right.
the kids.
It's not about the kids.
So-
it's not about the kids. The kids.
At the end of it all, I would say Ray didn't actively, this is sort of where we were in the pilot, is he didn't really harm anything, but he certainly didn't solve the problem, and I think in this scene, or in this episode, he had a bit of a responsibility to. Not the sole responsibility, but he's coming in at a 4 for me. I will pass it over to Mike.
I'm going to give him a 5. Similar to Adam, I think he's been a coward this episode. Straight up coward. Scared of his mom. Scared of his dad. But I also think it came from a position of, well, my dad seems happy if you don't dig at all beneath the surface. And, mom needs a break. And again, that's fine and good if your wife isn't begging you to get her the hell out. So I think that, shitty husband, his heart's at least in the right place, I think, for as far as son goes. But yeah, I think he's pretty middle of the road. I'm gonna give him a 5.
Okay. Alex?
I'm going to agree with Adam on this one. I think Raymond should get a 4. And my reasoning is that a 5 to me dictates the average father, someone who does a fine job taking care of their kids and their family. I think Ray does do that. However, I think the small mistakes he makes in this episode are enough to bring him down a number, excuse me. And I believe he transitions a little bit too much into, his childish ways of being super needy and, being actively hostile towards his brother. When he knows his brother really needed that toy, he needed a win today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 4 is comfortable with me.
Well, the one thing that I will chime in there, and I'm fine with the 4 rating, but you mentioned 5 is average. I think we've decided before that most dads probably would fall in the 7, like the
6, 7,
8 range. Yeah, exactly.
Good dads.
It's not necessarily 5 is the average. It's that 5 is the midway point between
good and bad,
amazing and actively violent. So
I sort of think of it as a 5 is doing, on the whole, not just, we look at it episodically, but on the whole, if Ray were to average out to a 5, he would be doing as much good as he is bad. I sort of see it as a scale a little bit.
I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable giving him a 5 this episode.
Yeah.
That's fair. I just wanted to clear up the average thing. Anyway.
So, Val, now that you've seen how much thought we put into it.
I have a lot of opinions.
Okay.
So, I can't do just Raymond, as this is my first encounter with Raymond. I am watching this episode as a family dynamic, so I have to understand where Raymond came from as a kid, which was whatever behavior his dad is giving to his mom is a behavior he can emulate unless he is told otherwise. And
That's
so far,
insightful.
he has portrayed nothing but neediness, which comes from his father.
Ooh.
And no source of helpfulness because he gets doted on by his mother. So the jobs that Deborah does is filling in the place of what his mother didn't teach him to do for himself. So I don't think that he did anything out of character. I think he was exactly Raymond. Although personally for me, if I encountered Raymond in the wild, I would give him a 3.
Okay.
I would simply give him a 3. He, as a son, he's doing everything that his mom wants him to do. But he's also reverting. So I took off points because he's reverting. He's not the fullest potential of a son he could be. As a dad, the kids didn't die. That's the most important part when they're not in the episode.
True.
Kids did not perish.
Kids did not die. I assume they were fed. I'm assuming they're happy because they didn't come down once.
They're fine up there.
They're fine.
They were
They're
asleep
chilling
the
and
whole time.
grilling. Exactly. So I gave him a higher score on that. I'm going to give him an 8 or a 9 because I didn't see any conflict, so I have no reason to worry.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen his behavior as a father post this episode. And as a husband, he gets, negative points for me.
Yeah.
I gave him a generous 4 because he was there. He didn't abandon the scene. He was available to be talked to. Would he listen? Maybe not so much, but he's there. He's going to actively engage in the conversation. Did he side with his mother instead of the woman he chooses to love every day? Yes. Is that partially because he's a mama's boy? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
No
big
shame.
time.
No shame in being a mama's boy. But if your wife is uncomfortable with the situation, don't you think that it's helpful to resolve, figure out why, help in any shape, way, or form, instead of fighting with your brother over a toy submarine powered by baking soda? I give Ray a 3.
Overall 3?
Yeah, so that averages out. This one I can do, Mike, is 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 8 is 16, divided by 4 is 4.
4.
That's averages, baby.
That is correct.
So that feels about right to me. I think you made some really good points there, Val. It's interesting because up to this point, we have not, quantified each of the domains that we evaluate him on. But that's a good idea. Maybe we should think about it more like that. It's ever evolving, the Baronmeter, and when we come out with it's still in beta, and when we come out with our report, we want it to be good, and that's why we appreciate you coming on here and adding some insight to it. Overall, yes, Ray's coming in at a 4 for this episode, and that is our final average number. So that means that we're all ready to finally bring this episode to an end and never talk about it again. Val, thank you so much for being here. There's only one last thing to do.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
Thank you.
There's only one last thing to say, Val.
Everybody loves Raymond.
And we love you.
Thanks for listening, everyone.